and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Chainsaw. I'm Todd.
And I'm Craig.
Craig, it feels like for the last month or two, all we've done is tribute episodes.
Well, and my goodness, we could do more. I mean, so many people have passed away in the last month or two. It's insane.
The last 4 or 5 days.
I know. Just the other day, I was in the dentist chair, and Alan texted me that Hulk Hogan died, and I cried in the dentist chair that Hulk Hogan died. What? Why am I crying?
You cried about Hulk Hogan. That's hilarious.
Well, I think I'm just a little emotionally raw. You know, I recently lost my dog. I'm serious. I recently lost my dog, and then you and I recently lost a mutual personal friend, you know, just this week. And
yes,
Ozzy, Theo. I mean,
oh, God.
Gosh, it's been a rough month.
It has been insane. Yeah, at the time that we're recording this has all just happened within the last few days. Michael Madsen, who we're tributing in this episode, he passed away last month in July. Just a day before July 4th, and just a few days before the 30th anniversary of this movie that we're doing now called Species.
Isn't that a wild coincidence? I read that too.
It is a weird coincidence in this case because Species seems to be one of his... Michael Madsen, by the way, has over 300 credits on IMDb. A lot of them are in movies that he says, look, a lot of people are critical of the movies that I've been doing later in my career. But he's like, I got mouths to feed. Yep. And my family of 6 kids expected a certain lifestyle around the time of Species and Mulholland Drive and a couple of these other big movies that he was in. He said, there's a lot of DVDs on the shelf that I'm in 10 minutes of. But they bought my name to put on the DVD packaging for, and it feeds my family. And that's what we do.
Right.
I would do the same if I were him.
Of course. Absolutely. Smart man.
It doesn't change the fact that this guy has had a really nice career. He has been in some big films. He was a favorite of Quentin Tarantino's. He was in Quentin Tarantino's debut movie, Reservoir Dog. And he was an evil guy in that one.
Yeah, it's one of his most iconic roles. Shockingly, I've never seen that movie.
You haven't?
Mm-mm.
It's good. It's a really good movie. It's classic Tarantino. I mean, of course, it's his first one, but like he is a brutal guy who just gets off on torturing and killing people.
Right.
That movie kind of was one of the earlier ones that really put Michael Madsen on the map, I would say. And Species is another one that I think brought him right in front of our faces as well. These were highlights in his career for sure. He's from Chicago. Did you know that?
No.
His mom was a filmmaker and author, and at the urging of Roger Ebert, one of my favorite guys, he said, you know, you should pursue your art. She did. I think that was an inspiration to her son, Michael, who, after he graduated from school in Chicago, started working at the Steppenwolf Theater Company there. And he was even an apprentice under John Malkovich. And his first role in movies was a very small role in War Games with, was Matthew Broderick was in that, right?
I think so, yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah, he kind of kicked things off pretty strong, I would say. What he was in Donnie Brasco. He turned down the role of Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction. That's the one that John Travolta eventually got.
Right.
But you could totally see him in that role, too.
I totally could. He said that was the biggest mistake of his career. Like, he actually, he turned down, for various reasons, availability, whatever, several pretty iconic roles, and that was the biggest one. But every one that he turned down, I was like, yeah, I could see him in that.
Right?
Yeah, he was a really cool actor, you know, tall, dark, handsome, brooding.
He played a type most of the time.
He said... I was looking at quotes from him, and he said something along the lines of, I'm a leading man trapped in a bad guy's body. And I get it. He does kind of, and it's interesting that you say that he's from Chicago, because now that I know that, I'm like, that tracks. Like, right. He's got kind of that Chicago tough guy air about him, and he is kind of a tough guy. You know, I was really surprised. I just learned today that acting wasn't his only art. He was also a published and award-winning poet.
I had no idea.
So he had a softer side too, and he talks about how, you know, he encouraged in his sons he encouraged them to try to connect to their softer sides and their artistic sides, but he also said that he wanted them to grow up to be people who didn't take shit from anybody. So he also taught them boxing and stuff like that, which it makes so much sense. It just sounds so much like the guy that I see on the screen.
It does.
But it also, I mean, I just said I was surprised, and I was surprised, but in considering it, I'm really not surprised to see that he had that softer side, the poet side. Because he does also have kind of a quiet elegance to him. I remember him from a million things. I'm sure you know who we're talking about if you're listening to this, but if you don't, Google him and you'll recognize him immediately. He's been in a million things. He was in Free Willy. He was in
Thelma and Louise. Yeah, he was the dad.
That's the one.
He was the dad in Free Willy, wasn't he? I forgot that.
And I liked that movie when I was a kid.
That was a cute.
But you mentioned Thelma and Louise. I remember him from that. My sister and I watched that movie a lot when we were far too young to be watching that movie. He got offered the role of the horrible rapist and didn't take it. I guess, you know, as tough of a guy as he was really kind of averse to violence. He wanted the role of Susan Sarandon's boyfriend, which was a small role, but I remember him from that. He was a tough guy, but there were so many bad men in that movie.
Right.
And he was a good guy. And he really stood out to me in that. It just seemed to be a very well-rounded, well-respected guy. Remained friends with the people he worked with. He was a pallbearer at Chris Penn's funeral. Just seemed like an all-around cool guy. And the reason that I suggested we do this was because it's probably, you know, one of his biggest horror things, but also because, you know, at some point in his career, he said that this was one of his favorite movies that he had done because he was actually given an opportunity to play a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, 90s B movie.
Yeah.
So it's no masterpiece, but he's good in it, and it's a fun ride.
And this movie was big.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for a B movie, this movie was huge when it came out. This is smack dab in the middle of high school. My friends and I rented it as soon as it came out on video, and what I remember about it was, this is the movie with the boobs. Mm-hmm. Natasha Henstridge, naked through most of the movie. And that's about all I remember. Oh, and she's playing an alien who's trying to mate with people. That's all I remembered about the movie. That's all that teenage Todd cared about. And it delivered. It delivered on those fronts.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't have recounted the plot to you before I watched it again, except for the fact that I know that I remember it being just this very basic film. It was almost typical, really, 90s sci-fi thriller type thing, where it's ultimately just kind of a chase movie where this gal is one step ahead of the people who are trying to track her down. And in the meantime, she's leaving a trail of bodies in her wake.
Right. There's even a part where Michael Madsen's character, whose name is Press, I think, maybe Preston, but they call him Press for short. After we are introduced to the whole alien thing, which we'll get back to, there's a meeting of what I ended up calling the team, because they're just kind of like this ragtag team of like a psychologist and an empath and a tough guy. And Ben Kingsley, who is the scientist who is in charge of this thing, explains what happened. And he explains that sometime in the recent past, they received communication from an intelligent alien species.
There were two distinct communications. The first message turned out to be a superior catalyst for methane. We now have the potential to produce an infinite amount of energy from this clean-burning fuel. This convinced us that we were dealing with a friendly intelligence. The second message turned out to be a new sequence of DNA with a rather friendly instructions on how to combine it with ours. Here's some technical data on the whole operation. You can get feedback on it from Dr. Baker here. Basically, the new combined DNA sequence was injected into 100 human ova.
He says it so seriously, like it's just so matter of fact, but like I'm thinking, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Like,
right.
I mean, they sent us the methane, so they must be friendly, right? So they immediately do, and they create this creature which appears human but ages at an incredibly advanced rate.
Until the movie gets going, and then she freezes in time to a hot 20-something-year-old gal.
Pretty much.
She ages...
It all only takes place over 2 days.
Right. But still, my impression was it was like 3 days max that she had gone from an embryo into this girl who ends up escaping. Am I wrong?
I don't remember. I think it was days.
Yeah.
And then they were going to try to destroy her, but she escaped. And Kingsley is telling this whole story, and then either he or somebody else kind of patronizingly asks Michael Madsen the question.
As the non-scientist amongst us, are you at all clear about what's going on here?
Oh, I think so. You created a monster with some kind of formula you got from outer space. The damn thing got away, and now you want us to hunt it down and kill it. Now, is that pretty close?
And they're like, yeah, I guess that's the gist of it.
That's the movie in a nutshell.
And that's it. And then it becomes a chase scene.
In case we are stupid, the 90s movies did this to a crazy degree, where there would just be this point in the movie where somebody would lay out the movie premise for you just in case you hadn't caught it by then. I do feel like movies of this era, and this is a perfect example of them, were very much just like, we just think you're all basic, and we're going to give you everything up front, and we're going to spell it out for you. And anytime there might be anything that we've hinted at in the past, we will make sure there is a point where we spell it out for you later, in case you didn't catch it earlier. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
And I say that because watching this movie, it just took me back to that era. I'm like, yeah, this is like The Rock. This is like every 90s action movie out there. Really, except it just involves an alien. Or it could be you could call it a slasher.
Yeah, you could.
It's very familiar. And I have no complaints about it. I really don't.
No.
I mean, if you're into this kind of thing, you're into it. If you don't want to see it, then that's fine. But I was curious about the premise, though. I thought the premise was really clever. We've seen a lot of movies that kick off. You know, we recently did Predator. All these movies that kick off with a shot of Earth, and you see this tiny little something, whether it's a comet, whether it's a spaceship, whether it's a pod or something, fly into the atmosphere, and you're clued into, okay, aliens have landed, and that's what the movie's going to be about. This isn't about an alien landing. An alien doesn't visit the planet. The screenwriter picked up on an idea by Arthur C. Clarke, a very famous sci-fi novelist, and just in case you guys don't know. And one thing that he said was, like, when you consider everything involved, the improbability of faster than light travel, the size of the universe, and all these things, the idea that an advanced civilization would find us and visit us is almost infinitesimally small. This takes the notion that, well, of course so that doesn't happen. But other aliens could be sending out signals like we're sending out signals with SETI, and they use this way to plant themselves onto our planet. And I had forgotten that aspect of this movie, and I thought, oh, God, that's really smart. The screenwriter, by the way, 10 years before this, his very first produced screenplay was Just One of the Guys.
That's funny. I like that movie.
How many times have you and I referenced that movie on this show?
That's a great movie.
We loved it. Caught it on cable all the time in the 90s. Yeah, it was such a good one. He didn't do much. He did this. He did Just One of the Guys. He did The Golden Child, which was the Eddie Murphy movie.
I like that movie, too.
It is good.
And that kind of tracks. That movie is a lot like this one in many ways, with, like, creatures and, like, you know, kind of a quest kind of narrative. It makes a lot of sense. Very similar. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, so he just picked up on those ideas from Arthur C. Clarke. He had written a movie between The Golden Child and this one called Real Men that involved aliens and stuff, and he kind of wanted to do another one. And I think the script went through a lot of changes and revisions, both before it was accepted and during production as well. Got a lot of people had their hands in the pie. Frank Mancuso Jr., who is the longtime producer of the Friday the 13th franchise, ended up picking it up, and then pulled H.R. Geiger to do creature design. And I mean, you can tell because it's totally his style.
Oh, yeah.
But it's interesting to see how much he really tried to vary this from Alien, so much so that apparently he was heavily involved in giving script notes, requesting changes to the movie, and all kinds of stuff, because he just did not want this to feel like another rehash of Alien, because in many ways it really just does feel like that already.
Well, and there are parts of it, particularly towards the end, that feel very... The final sequence feels very much like it.
Oh, yeah. You can list it out exactly. And I think he did. I think he wrote notes. He said, these are the, like, 6 ways that this movie totally references Alien. Can we have the creature die slightly different way in the end, so it's not by flamethrower, which was what originally was in it, stuff like that. So it's cool to see a movie where everybody's, contributing and everybody's allowed to contribute. That's probably how this thing came together and became so successful. It's just kind of a wild, fun ride. I don't think it's going to win big awards.
No.
I think reviews on it are even kind of mixed, but mostly it's just, do you like this kind of movie or not?
Yeah.
If you're not, then just watch something else. That's kind of how ultimately, maybe I'm just skipping to the end here, but that's ultimately my take on this movie. It's a fun ride for what it is.
For what it is, exactly. And I mean, that's what most of the fan reviews say. Like, if you look at IMDb, it's got, I don't know, like a 6 or a 7 or something like that. Not super high ratings, but most people are like, it's a pretty good B movie.
Yeah.
What do you expect from this type of movie? It is what it is, and it hits lots of marks for a lot of people. You've got a sexy lady who shows her boobs quite a bit. You've got some pretty big action sequences. You've got a cool designed alien. It moves pretty quickly. It stars a lot of people that you're going to recognize, big names, Oscar winners and nominees, and stars of stage, screen, and television. It's got a lot going for it. I'm sure it had a big budget.
$35 million.
That's pretty big.
Pretty big for a B movie, yeah.
The only thing, and I'm not going to say I'm going to complain about it, but in critiquing it from a 2025 perspective, the digital effects are pretty lacking.
Yeah.
The design looks great. I love the design, but it looks like a video game from 2000.
You know what? It kind of reminded me a little bit of when we did The Relic.
Yeah.
Where the shots where you could tell it was practical. Because they did have some practical puppets and things like that in here, just like in The Relic. That was pretty good. But then it was immediately apparent when it would switch to CGI because it was, not complimentary at all. By today's perspective.
And still fun.
Not Leprechaun 4 bad,
No. I mean, it was still fun.
Yeah.
It's very clearly CGI. It's not fooling anybody, and that's fine. That's where we were in 1995, so whatever. Everything else about it I pretty much liked. I mean, I also think that it's kind of a cool thing that the movie, this alien human hybrid, I suppose, is the antagonist of the movie, but to call her the villain isn't really fair.
That's right.
This individual being didn't ask to be created, whatever of her race of beings, whatever they are, they intended this to happen. She's still an individual and didn't ask for it. And they create her in a test tube, an incubator and everything, but it goes super, super fast. And I think they show her, I don't know, they show a very small girl who looks like she's maybe 6 or something and say, this is just 3 days, 3 weeks. I don't remember what they said, but it's super, super fast. And then she becomes a very young Michelle Williams. I didn't look into this, but it wouldn't surprise me if this was one of the first things that Michelle Williams ever did.
It must be.
It's definitely before Dawson's Creek, which is where her career really took off. She's very young in this, but very cute. And what I was trying to get at was I like that. I think that the filmmakers are making an effort to endear us to this character before she starts killing people. So then, ultimately, when she starts killing people, it's exciting, and I know that they have to catch her, and she's ultimately a very big threat because what she wants to do is reproduce, which is all just based on instinct. Again, It's not malicious.
Yeah.
I don't know the technical definition of an anti-hero, but she's at very least a sympathetic villain.
She is. And that strikes you from the very beginning. It's clear they're trying to do this, even as, she's being gassed in that chamber because they decide. Why do they decide they need to gas her? Because what was it? He explains it later.
I don't remember. I don't remember if it was just that she was growing too fast.
She was growing too fast, and they decided they needed to take their time with this and not maybe they had made a mistake
or something.
She's having weird dreams, but it's not like they can tap into those.
Right. I don't know, and I don't know if they know that she's super strong. I don't know. I think it's just a matter of it's happening too fast and it's unpredictable, and we need to take a step back and do it more slowly. I think that's all that it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ben Kingsley, I'm gonna probably just keep calling him that, but his name is Fitch in the movie. If I call him that, he's kind of the head scientist in charge, and honestly, I would think of him more as the villain, but he's difficult to think of as the villain too because he's just strictly science.
He is, and he's really not wrong. I mean, everything that he's doing is actually kind of smart. You know, there's that classic scene where there's two of the team in a room, and with the experiment, I may be jumping the gun here a little bit, but they decide for other reasons that they want to go back and make her without the human part.
Right. So that they can better understand her nature. And exactly. I thought that was actually a really clever idea. And it's not even, I don't remember, Marg Helgenberger, what is her character? Laura? Yeah. She is a molecular biologist. She's on the team also. Like I told you, there's this ragtag team or whatever. And she has the idea, once the thing's name is Sil, it stands for something, but I don't know what. Once she escapes and they're trying to find her, but they're having difficulty finding her, Marg Helgenberger's character says, why don't we just create it without the human thing, so then we have more of an idea of what its nature is? And I'm thinking, nobody thought of that before this?
Right.
Like, I might have thought, I don't know, I'm no scientist, but I might have thought if an alien sends us its DNA and says, hey, put it together with some human DNA, I might have thought, well, let's see what its DNA is like first. Right. Before we start mixing it with things.
Since it's clearly possible.
I know, but science, I don't know, in the wrong hands, potentially even in the right hands, can be reckless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're seeing that now.
Well, and we've always seen it. I mean, even, with like atomic power and stuff.
True.
Like, sometimes risks have to be taken for progress. And so, again, that's why Ben Kingsley's character, I'm rooting against him because he seems mean. It feels to me as the viewer very inhumane that he would gas this precious little girl who has no idea what's going on, who asked for none of this, who they've been keeping in complete isolation, like hooked up to wires and stuff from the time that she was born. The empath of the group, Forest Whitaker, Dan, when he's being told this and he's being shown videos, he's saying she didn't like that. She didn't like being confined. She didn't like being alone. She's scared. Now, to be frank, I think that his character is really stupid.
Oh, God. Yes.
And a really stupid plot device.
Yes.
That's the old... I mean, it's a silly movie overall, but that is writing that character in is silly because he identifies as an empath, but the truth of the matter is he's just...
psychic.
Yeah, I mean, he just knows everything. Like, he's just a human barometer of everything. Like, he knows every move that everybody's going to make. He knows everything that everybody, including this alien being.
He can sense when someone's outside. He could look at a photograph and be like, she was in pain and she felt this and this and this. Like, come on. He's just a way to move them, and almost every time, too. Which is also what's annoying about this movie, is he is their way to move them from place to place. Uh-huh. Oh, now I sense that she's over here, and that's where they go. In almost every circumstance, he has a sense that maybe she's somewhere else, and so that's where they end up going, and of course she was just there.
Well, and in the final pursuit, he's like a bloodhound.
I thought of him as the meter in Alien that's beeping,
Yeah. Okay, fine, whatever. But early on in the movie, he tells us, oh, she's scared, she's unhappy, she doesn't like this. So we feel empathy for her, and we feel bad that this mean scientist, tried to gas her.
But even in that moment, I think they actually pull a little bit of a hat trick on you here, where he's standing up tall. He's lit from below. He's got a very stern look on his face. He nods to order the gas to come in, and you can see that this little girl's being gassed, and she's crying, and she's pleading, and she's pounding on the doors, looking up at him, and he just stands there staring down at her. But then a tear comes down his face, and he says, "I'm so sorry," which she sees him mouth. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. All right, he doesn't want to be doing this, but he's making the decision that has to be made.
Right.
And I feel like that was his character, and I think that's what you're getting at. That was his character throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's not the stereotypical, he's not the Paul Reiser of Alien, who's willing to kind of sacrifice everything for for science.
Correct.
No, he has a lot of sympathy too, and I feel like most of the movie he's actually making all the right calls. Even when, like I said, in that one moment where they go into the lab and they decide to create her without the human part of the DNA, and they have that classic scene, it's like the beginning of The Rock with Nick Cage in there. Now the scientists are trapped in the room with the bad thing happening, and the people outside are unwilling to open the doors because if they do, that bad thing's going to get out and destroy everybody else and possibly the world.
Right.
You can't really knock him for that. You know?
In theory, yeah, and I totally get it in theory, and it is the practical decision. It makes more sense.
Well, it's the responsible decision. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You risk it becoming uncontained and getting out, and it's weird because the Sil alien, she appears human, but she eventually transforms. I'm not really sure if she can transform at will or if this is just a continuation of her transformation. I think it's just a continuation of her transformation, but she ultimately looks humanoid, but very alien and very HR Geiger. It's very in
Sexual.
keeping with his style.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does include a lot of sexuality, and she's voluptuous, and like she can shoot tentacles out of her nipples that can like strangle people and stuff.
I like that.
It's weird.
Have you ever flipped through a Geiger, any of his books of art or anything like that?
I know that I have, but it's been a while. I basically what I can remember is that his style is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And it's pretty consistent with the design of the xenomorph and with the stuff that you see in this movie.
Yep.
There's definitely, the xenomorph, they had to get him to tone down the phallic nature of it.
Yeah.
It was initially, and its head is still pretty phallic.
Oh, yeah. His art is all just vaginas and phalluses and things going into mouths and stuff like that. Every single bit of it, it's super consistent. So no big surprises there.
No.
It's actually kind of a shock that his art ever got tapped for film.
I know.
It's good art, but again, you got to tame it down considerably for film. And even then, even the xenomorph is just dripping with this stuff,
Literally. It's funny. But yeah, so Michelle Williams escapes, and she's young, and she hops a train. It's interesting, this alien adapts pretty quickly. She picks up basic language. She is observant and, can pick up on human behaviors, in that if you trade this green paper for things, you can, get stuff. So she somehow acquires money. I don't even remember how, but she starts, giving people money for products and services and stuff. But on this train, she's eating ravenously. We find out later it's because she was preparing for a metamorphosis, and then she builds builds isn't the right word, but forms this cocoon in the train car that she's in. And though, again, she really never seems malicious. In fact, she can interact pretty well with people. She interacts with this train attendant, this lady who's very nice to her, and they have kind of a nice interaction.
Yeah.
But we're always reminded that she is an evolving creature, and that part of her evolution is to feed and to kill in defense of herself or whatever. And though she does have a kindly interaction with this train lady, when the train lady comes back to check on her and finds this giant cocoon, a big tentacle shoots out of it and kills her. And she leaves a trail of bodies throughout this movie. We don't even see, we see her kill multiple people, but we don't even see every kill. The team just kind of follows this trail of bodies.
They're always just a little bit late to the party.
Oh my God, they're 5 seconds late every time.
Which is also silly. It's also silly how quickly they discover where she might be going next. It's the kind of movie you don't want to think too much about. I think Roger Ebert said that in his review. He was like, you don't, if you really stop to think about what's going on, it all kind of falls apart, because what leads them from one place to another place to another place, the clues and things that they get, they're so dumb. And again, most of it revolves around this empath sensing things. So,
well, she does leave, but even just what I've already said, the fact that, and somebody makes a joke at some point, they're like,
of course Los Angeles is perfect for her. It's a city of the future. Anything goes. Totally mobile population, everyone's a stranger. Very little in this town is taboo or unacceptable. Whatever she does, no one's going to notice.
Which, to some extent, I think is absolutely true, but you do have to kind of take a leap of blind faith to believe that she could acclimate so quickly.
You do.
She learns how to drive. She uses a credit card. She goes shopping and buys a wedding dress and wears it around for a while.
That was hilarious.
But Natasha Henstridge could have gotten away with walking around in anything she wanted to in 1995.
Oh, yeah.
She was stunningly beautiful. She looked like a fashion model.
She was.
No, I don't think anybody would have batted an eye at her wearing that dress.
No, not at all. She would have been one of the least weird people walking down the street, I think.
But aside from figuring out that she was in LA, which I don't really remember, they get close because one guy she kills, she has his money. She uses it to check into a motel, as an alien would do, I suppose, where she watches porn.
Yeah. Well, everything she sees on the TV the TV feeds her a lot of information, including the very specific bit of usefulness that will come to her later, which is you can dye your hair.
Oh, yeah.
How many times
That's
did we see the hair dyeing ad before that became relevant? And then
That's right. That's
the
funny.
stupid thing later is that one of the members of our team, and actually I think it's Forest Whitaker, sees the same ad on television in the motel, and that gives him the idea, wait a minute, maybe she changed her appearance. Come on. This entire team of supposed experts and all this, it didn't cross their mind once that this would be a thing. He had to see the same ad on television to get that idea.
It's silly. Whatever, it works. The only thing she does to change her appearance is dye her hair. She's blonde, naturally, and she dyes her hair brunette. Now, to be fair, they've never gotten a real good look at her.
No, that's true.
They've seen some kind of grainy footage of her from the motel where she used a credit card. The guy at the desk was like, we have to have your credit card on file. So she gave the credit card. That's how they initially got close to her.
Right.
And then from then on, they were just kind of always just one step behind for one reason or another. And again, it's jumping ahead. We can jump back. But by the time she dyes her hair, it's not just a matter of them not recognize her because she did the Clark Kent glasses type thing. They also think she's dead.
Yeah.
And also, to be fair, they were skeptical of that and felt that they had been reassured. So they were fairly reassured that she was dead. Natasha Henstridge is so striking that
there's no way.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked that even from just the grainy imagery that they'd seen of her, that they wouldn't at least give her a second glance, because she's just so striking. But whatever, they don't. It's fine. A lot of what we skipped is just them constantly on her tail. And once she sees porn, that really gets her biological clock ticking. And then she's on the prowl for men. So she asks the motel clerk, who I was shocked didn't just say, well, I'm a man.
Right? I thought that would be the first thing. He didn't seem like the most up-and-up guy anyway.
Right. Maybe she wasn't his type, I don't know, but he was far less skeevy than I would have expected from him.
For sure.
But he sends her to a club, and she goes to a club, and she kind of observes people flirting, and she sees this. Well, a guy approaches her, and she's talking to him, and then another woman breaks in and drops some cheesy line and kind of steals the guy that Sil was flirting with. So she follows this lady into the bathroom and kills her.
Through the wall?
Yeah, the girl's in the bathroom stall. And I'm not really exactly sure how this... And I don't know.
It looked like a Beetlejuice move. Just this weird hand kind of shot out of the wall from behind this girl.
From behind her? But it doesn't even make any sense.
How did she get behind the wall?
Yeah, how? Because she's in the bathroom with this lady, and they have a brief interaction, and then the lady goes in the stall, and Natasha Henstridge leaves the room. So I guess she went, into the men's restroom, into the utility closet on the other side of the wall, and
I don't know.
I don't know, but she shoots a tentacle through, and it kills the lady. Yeah, it's weird. And it's bloody and gross, and there's, these practical effects when she's killing people, they're gory and...
Oh, yeah. The aftermath of that's really pretty good, too.
And it really doesn't pull any punches. I mean, it's pretty violent and gory, and so if you're into that kind of stuff and practical effects... the movie's probably worth it just for that alone. But she also takes off her top a lot.
She sure does.
If you're into that. She takes I don't know. I was going to say a skeevy guy, but whatever. She just hits on this guy and she gets him to take her home. And it looks like she's down to go, he says he's going to go take a shower, and she follows him in there and, is kind of leering at his body, and he comes out and tells her to take her clothes off, and she does. and they start getting closer to one another when all of a sudden she's just not into it anymore.
What was that all about? Did she sense something?
Okay, yes. I mean, it's explained to us later, but in the moment it was so confusing because, like, she was so into it, and we already know that she's motivated to mate. The Marg Helgenberger character has already told us that. She's developing, she's following her natural instincts, her natural life cycle, and at this point, her body would be telling her that it is time to procreate. And so we know that already, but then she has this guy in her grasp, and he's totally into it, and she rejects him, and then he gets rapey, and she kills him.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, she kisses him and kind of, xenomorph tongue shots through the back of his head.
Also like Alien.
Yes, very much. When the team arrives 3 seconds later, they put all this together and they're like, well, she had a guy right here. Why wouldn't she be with him? And I think it's Marg Helgenberger's like, well, maybe she could sense that there was something wrong with him. I think that she cites some other species that can do that. Like they can, sense desirable versus undesirable mates, and they're like, well, maybe there was something wrong with him, and they look around for 2 seconds and find that he has syringes and insulin, so he was diabetic, so he was a less than perfect specimen for her to mate with.
She knows so much about biology at this point. Do you remember how they got here, by the way? Now that I remembered it?
No.
They ask, like, the club owner.
Blue-eyed blonde, black leggings, pink sweater, 5 foot 10 inches tall. Who'd she leave with?
Blue-eyed blonde leaves with a guy. It's hardly news around here.
Just name the top attractions, the regulars, no losers.
You should assume he's socially adept. You'll be hopping around.
We're looking for a friendly guy, not a total asshole.
I'm thinking. Robbie left with a blonde.
That's
This owner, like, keeps tabs of all of the people in this gigantic club that is just packed to the gills with bodies, and is like, oh, yeah, there's like 6 really nice ones. And, oh, yeah, I happen to notice that he left with a blonde. How many people were leaving with blondes that night? Come on.
Right. Like she was the only blonde in the club. Right?
So stupid.
I know, and it's all like that. I mean, it's all just very silly clues. Like, so she steals, the guy that she just killed, she steals his car, and she watched him drive once, so she knows how to drive now. And she just drives it around, and eventually it runs out of gas somewhere in LA.
She almost gets hit.
She does get hit. She gets nailed by, she gets out of the car and she's on the street and she gets nailed by this car and thrown through one of those glass bus stops. Like,
yeah,
an actual human most likely would have been killed. It would have been shocking for somebody to survive that.
Oh, yeah.
And she is unconscious, and some handsome guy in a red convertible pulls up and, tends to her, and I guess somehow gets her to the hospital, whether he called the ambulance or whatever. We don't see that. What we do see is him standing at the nurse's station saying, I don't know her name, I just wanted to make sure she was okay. And the nurse is like, well, she has no ID on her, and she has no insurance. And the guy's like, oh, that's fine, just put it on my credit card. Like, what?
Nicest
this
guy
stranger
in the world.
Yeah. I mean, she's hot. There's no question there. I get it. She's certainly hot. But the only interaction that he's had with her is her laying in a crumpled, unconscious mess in rubble.
Sure.
And getting her to the hospital. Like, I see checking in on her, but, putting her medical bills on your credit card.
Those would be some serious bills, too.
And that's fine, but it's stupid. It's just so that when she miraculously heals herself in front of a befuddled doctor,
right,
who then just gets whisked away by his nurses, and he's like, wait a second, did you see that?
Yeah.
So she comes out, she sees nice guy standing there, and she's like, can you get me out of here? And he's like, did the doctor say it was okay for you to leave? And she's like, yeah, it's cool. So they leave. So the whole reason for him putting his credit card there was so that the team could then follow that trail.
Yeah.
To rich guy's house, where once again, she's seducing this guy, and this guy apparently is fine.
He's a nice dude, too. He's like, whoa,
yeah.
Too fast,
Yeah, and she gets him in the hot tub, and she's really, she's trying to make stuff happen really fast. And, the team, at least Michael Madsen and Marg Helgenberger, show up while this is still happening.
Yes.
Like they are like knocking on the door and like snooping around while this is happening. So because she's interrupted, she pushes nice guy under the water and he's drowning. But then this is when she transforms. And again, it's unclear to me. I don't know if it's because she feels threatened. Because she does go back to human form after this. So I do think it must be kind of an at-will kind of thing. Yeah. But she turns into this alien type thing. She shoots tentacles out of her nipples, strangles the guy. But by the time the team, get out there, he's already dead. Like, they're just seconds too late. Like, if you had just been a little faster, that guy could have been okay.
Well, they're so on the tail end of this that she is watching them as they're investigating. She has gone, she's gotten a car, she's driven it around somewhere, she's gotten out of the car, she's come back, and she's looking through the bushes and watching them as they are examining the hot tub.
And reading Ben Kingsley's lips, so she knows what their plans are. Their plans are to scout the club, the same club they were at this night, because he thinks she'll go back there for some reason that I don't understand. But
maybe he just thinks that she's going to the club repeatedly to find another man. I don't know. I mean, you're right. It is the most, like, if I were on this team, I'd be like, no, I don't think she's going back there.
Well, he's underestimating her. She's clearly very resourceful and smart. Like, it would be foolish of her to go back to the same place. Yeah. I don't think she would have. I don't know. Ben Kingsley is also acting very shady at this point. I don't even really know what he's trying to do. But anyway, she knows. Now, for me, I can pretty much get down with everything that's happened up until this point. At this point, it really starts to get ridiculous because she puts together a fucking James Bond spy diversion that surely would have taken years to plan and would have been nearly impossible to execute perfectly, and yet she executes it perfectly. She stages her own death in the most extravagant of ways.
It didn't need to be this extravagant, but yeah. And also, this is the point at which she starts to do very indefensible things, as far as when we were talking about her just acting on instinct. I mean, of course, the whole thing is instinct, but she leaps naked, again, she's naked, into a car with a woman who's at a gas station, and basically says, I'm in trouble, I guess, and drives off. And the next thing we know, she's got this woman tied up, bound and gagged, her bed. She has this weird conversation with her, like, do you ever have nightmares? I think this was supposed to be kind of, I don't want to say darkly humorous, where she's asking this woman who's bound and gagged next to her, do you ever have nightmares? Because she's being plagued by these nightmares of herself or her nature or something like that. Mm-hmm. And this woman's like, no, just let me go. And she's like, I have these nightmares and they're terrible. Anyway, she cuts her thumb off in front of this woman, which regenerates, puts it in her bag, then goes over to the woman, cuts her thumb off.
Yeah, and I didn't know what was going on. It was very strange. The thing about I felt like this was the writer's attempt at kind of an existential moment. Like, when she's asking about those nightmares, she's like, I have these nightmares, and they're so terrible, they're so frightening, because they show me who I really am. And again, that's a little deep for this type of movie, but I think that it's kind of her coming to terms with what she really is, and it's frightening, but it may also give her the ability to do these, like you said, these increasingly indefensible things. This woman that she's taken hostage, not only is she innocent, but she offered Sil help.
Yeah.
Right?
At the same sense, you're still kind of rooting for her, because like you just said, this scene just lays bare that she's really not that bad. She's just acting. It's like any one of the animal attack movies, that we've done, like Alligator.
Yeah, right. Are you going to be mad at Jaws?
Right, yeah. Right. They just are what they are.
It's just doing what it does. Like,
so you're still kind of rooting for her, and I think in that way, that's how it's a little different from Alien and a lot of these other films, where you're rooting for the good guys. You're kind of rooting for her because she's not really a crazy bad person either. You're just interested to see where this goes. But it just gets increasingly ridiculous, like you said. They're at the club, and Dan is still their secret weapon, and he just feels something, right? He goes outside, he touches the ground. I was like, what? What? I thought he was an empath. How is he, like, sensing things through the ground? Two guys pop out of a dumpster. What were they doing in there? I was curious about that. Then there's a car, and she's there, and she hops in the car, and she takes off. Then there's a big car and helicopter chase.
And it's all intentional. This is all a ruse. She exposes herself, and she wants them to chase her because, like you said, we got a whole big sequence where she was filling up these big drums of gasoline, and she's got this woman that she's taken hostage. She's got her tied up in the passenger seat, and it was at this point I was like, oh, this is stupid, but the reason she cut off their thumbs is because she is going to fake her own death.
Oh, this is so stupid.
And use this woman. Okay, so she has them chase her in a car, and like, I don't know if it's Mulholland, but it's one of those, highways right on the mountain.
Looks like she's up by the Hollywood sign or something, it's just way up in the mountains.
Right. So she intentionally drives off a cliff, and then as the car's going down the cliff, she jumps out of the car at the same time pulling the other woman into the driver's seat, and the car hits something and explodes, a huge explosion.
Massive.
Because of all the gas in there. Helicopters come in and missile the whole
Shoot two
area.
missiles into this car. This car's already had a mushroom cloud explosion. Then 2 helicopters come and just for good measure shoot 2 missiles at it, to which it explodes even more.
But she easily gets away. But the whole thumb thing was she's like, oh, they'll find the thumb, which they do. And
They do. This this cop comes running up to get Ben Kingsley and is like, oh, by the way, this is maybe 3 minutes after the explosion.
Yeah.
He runs up to Ben Kingsley. It's like, we found this thumb in the door. It's probably as she was trying to escape or something. Do you mean to tell me that there is anything left? This little chunk of severed thumb that she put in the door, they're actually going to find? And it's
and it's dumb, but she was right to suspect that they would be suspicious, but they checked the DNA of the thumb and they're like, oh, yep, that's her. She must be dead. So they go to hang out at a hotel. She goes to dye her hair and then comes to the same hotel that they're at. I don't get this either. I think that we're intended to believe that she's lusting after Michael Madsen and maybe kind of intentionally following him around.
There was a scene earlier, where she kind of saw him get into the elevator and got all hot and bothered.
Okay. All right. So now they're all there. She's there. She's brunette. She interacts with several of them. None of them recognize her.
That's funny.
There's also, they're setting up this romantic tension between Michael Madsen and Marg Helgenberger, and will they, won't they, who cares?
It's kind of thrown in there.
Yeah. They end up going upstairs to Laura's room, Marg Helgenberger, and Sil follows Michael Madsen up there, but he goes in, and then she just stands outside the door getting really horny listening to them bang.
Yeah.
And then a maid comes around the corner, so she can't just be, hanging out in the hall, rubbing her nub listening to these guys. so she steals the maid's keys and goes into the room next door, which turns out to be Alfred Molina's door. I don't think that we've even mentioned him, but he's on the team too.
He's here as well. He's one of the most useless people on this team, but yeah.
I think he's supposed to be comic relief, but he's not really there enough to really be all that funny. He looks great. He's very young and he's handsome and he's fun. You just we haven't said much about him because there's not a lot to say. But he goes in his door and she's there and he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I saw you downstairs, but you were talking to other people, so I decided just to come up and wait for you. And she starts taking off her clothes. And he's like, things like this never happened to me. And he jumps on the bed and takes off all his clothes. And they start banging. Now, he was, he had been drinking and he was, trying to meet a lady downstairs. This is a strange woman that he's never seen before.
Right? An odd resemblance that you probably wouldn't have to think too hard. It's not a huge leap from those grainy motel, videos. The other thing I think is a little unconvincing about this movie is how it's a very solid point when Ben Kingsley is like, okay, she's dead, everything's good. And almost everybody else in the team is like, I'm not sure. I don't buy it. This is fishy. And then their secret weapon, Dan, is like, no, man. Something's wrong. Like the guy they've been listening to this whole time and has been right every single time. They're like, no, man, she's dead. Don't worry about it. Look, just drink some Long Island iced teas and forget about it.
Yeah.
Come on. In a better movie, this would have been a plot point where they would have all continued with their skepticism and that would have led them to discover that she is in fact still alive. But now all their guards are just down. It's like a couple drinks and they don't care anymore.
Well, except for Dan, who can sense that she's near and that she's having sex. So he goes to the room that Sil and that other guy, Alfred Molina, are in, and he listens in for a second, and then he goes right next door and knocks on Michael Madsen and Mark Helgenberger's door, and it's like, she's alive, and she's in there, and they're banging. And Michael Madsen's like, no, she's not. He's like, yes, she is. And he's like, okay, I believe you.
That's literally how it goes down.
So he takes as much time as he needs to get dressed, and then they go over there.
I love this bit, by the way.
Before they get there, Alfred Molina comes, and within 10 seconds...
She's pregnant.
Sil is like, I can feel it. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, new life. And he's like, ha, that's funny. And she's like, no, seriously, feel it. And she puts his hand on her stomach, and he feels something moving around in there. And of course, freaks out, realizes what's going on. Too late. She kills him. And now the chase is on. So it's just the three of them now. It's
Ben Kingsley.
No, not Ben Kingsley.
No.
Michael Madsen, Mark Helgenberger, and Forest Whitaker. It's just the three of them. How they know where she's going, I don't know. You know, they kind of see her, and she leaves destruction. Like, she's really strong. Like, she's breaking down doors and stuff. She even breaks through a steel door. Somehow, they follow her into the sewers.
Yes.
And this is when it gets very alien-y, because it's very reminiscent of all, you know, all the dark hallways and pipes and steam and
tunnels, yeah.
Rivers of liquid and all that kind of stuff.
She's above them. She's below them.
She's in the water. You know, she can move quickly under the water. She can, you know, watch them. They're walking right underneath these pipes, and she's right above them, and they don't see her, but we do. All this kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's very alien. They're following her around with a flamethrower.
Yes.
She is fleeing further and further into wherever they are, because she's also gestated this entire pregnancy in a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And she ends up crawling through, you know, some big crack. They're like, oh, this must have opened up when the earthquake happened. Yeah, and then they end up in some sort of cavern with a lake of oil in it. What?
That's weird.
Are there, like, lakes of oil under Los Angeles? Maybe there are. I don't know.
La Brea tar pits type thing. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. So she's in there. She gives birth. It seems like we only get a glimpse of it, but it seems like her birthing process is that her entire torso splits open.
Yeah.
And this thing comes out of it. She's in full alien form at this point, by the way. They get into that cavern where they think that she is. The main guy, Michael Madsen, goes ahead and is like, watch my back or whatever. But Dan comes across the kid, who is already like 8.
Yeah.
And just this naked boy covered kind of in gook, but we quickly realize that he's dangerous because he sees a rat and he reaches out to it, but he can't reach it. So he just shoots his tongue out of his mouth like a frog and eats the whole thing.
That was cute. Yeah.
It was funny. I thought it was funny. And then Dan finds him, and Dan's like, oh, I'll be your friend. Everything's going to be okay. And he tries to shoot his frog tongue at him, too. And Dan kind of falls over a ledge and is, like, hanging over the lake. Doesn't Michael Madsen show up and kill the kid, like, immediately?
Yeah, and then Sil's pissed, so Sil runs over, and then Michael Madsen also kind of slips down through a crack, or maybe she's above him, and her nipple tentacles come out, and they grab him, and...
But he cuts it off. Yeah, he cuts the tentacle off and throws it aside. Important for later.
Yeah.
Mark Helgenberger's there, and she's trying to help, but she's not really doing anything. She's stuck in the lake. Somehow the entire lake of oil gets caught on fire. So, you know, they're in this underground area. There's fire everywhere. The whole lake is on fire. They end up somehow throwing Sil into the fire, and it seems like she's dead. And Michael Madsen is trying to pull Dan up because he's still hanging over that ledge over the burning lake. And Sil, engulfed in flames, jumps up and grabs Dan's leg and is trying to pull him down. But Michael Madsen pulls out like a bazooka. I don't even know what it was.
Where that came from. Anyway.
It was some huge gun that he loads a huge round that looks like the size of a beer can into, and he blows her head off, and she falls into the lake, presumably dead. They get Dan out, and they're all like, well, that was weird, and then they leave.
But then we get the inevitable, like, rat comes and grabs one of those nipple tentacles that have been severed and pulls it away. and presumably eat some of it, because the final scene I think that we get shown in the movie is this rat looks really, really mean and encounters another rat, and then its tongue like lashes out, like the kid's tongue had lashed out, and consumes that of the rat. So, ha ha ha! Its DNA is living on in these rats.
Sure.
And I haven't seen Species 2, so I don't know if that literally carries through or if they took a different tack to continue the movie.
I don't remember. I think they take a different tack, but I don't remember if the whole rat thing carries through. Now, I could be totally misspeaking because it's been a while, but at the beginning of this summer, when I had nothing to watch, Species was on Pluto, which runs, stuff live, so you can just kind of channel switch. And I came to it, and when you go, it runs things live, but when you go to it, it gives you the option of going back to the beginning. You can also stream it from them. So I saw that it was on. I hadn't seen it in a long time, so I switched to it, and I went ahead and, sent it back to the beginning and watched the whole thing. And then it just auto-played the next one, so I just left it playing. If I remember correctly, they make a new Sil, still played by Natasha Henstridge, but it's like Terminator 2. Like, she's a good one.
Okay.
And I think she, helps them with stuff. Again, I could be misspeaking. I don't know. And then there is a third one, and I want to say in the third one, the alien hybrid is a man. But I don't even remember if I watched that one. Neither of the sequels did well. They, even Michael Madsen said that he knew that the second one was crap, but it was a check, and why not? But yeah, I mean, this movie, it's stupid.
It's dumb.
But I like a lot of stupid movies.
Yeah, it's a fun one to just play, especially with friends, just watch it. And it's a mindless action movie. There are a million of them. There really are, and it's one of the better ones, I would say.
Yeah, and it's very 90s. It's got a very 90s feel to it, so if you're nostalgic for that.
I feel like the nudity was a big hook when this came out. That was a big hook. It was definitely played up. This was her first movie. She was already a successful model. She looks gorgeous. Mm-hmm. She's topless in this a lot. As a teenage, Todd loved this. All of his friends did as well. I know that it was a huge box office success, even though it wasn't a huge critical success. And from $35 million budget, I think it made $113 million worldwide, plus, who knows what on DVD and all that stuff. It was very successful in DVD and stuff as well, rentals. So, and Michael Madsen, one of his favorite movies to be in, and you can kind of see why.
Yeah,
at least he could be a good guy in it. A good guy who's a little shady, right? He was the guy hired by the government to take care of things.
Yeah, he's still the muscle, right?
Yeah.
But he's
working for the good people.
He's painted as the hero of the movie. And
he is. He lasts. He kills the bad person.
Right. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that this is a tour de force of his acting. I'm sure that you could,
sure.
watch Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction or
Reservoir Dogs for sure.
Even as small a role as he has, I really loved him in Thelma and Louise. The guy is a really good actor. I'm glad that he had fun on this movie and made money on it and had a good time doing it and remembered it fondly. Probably not his best work, but who cares? It did well. It's still fun to watch. And he was proud of it. So kudos to him.
We'll miss him. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with a friend anyway. We just love to have you spread the word a little bit. If you really like what you hear and want to support us even further, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Chainsaw Podcast. Just $5 a month gives you access to all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff, the complete unedited audio of our phone calls. You can get mini-sodes that we put out on a regular basis, reviews. We have a book club going, all those things. Patreon.com/Chainsaw Podcast. Please join our newsletter. You can just go to our website, chainsawhorror.com, and click on newsletter. Get updates about the latest episodes we have and a few select bits of news and trivia, what's going on in the horror community that week. Until next time, I'm Todd.
And I'm Craig.
With Two Guys and a Chainsaw.